Hello, Summoners, and welcome to another episode of FEHology, the study of Fire Emblem Heroes. My name is Joel, and I've got a special guest today. Promise, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me on the show, Joel. I'm having a pretty good day. Definitely excited to join FEHology on YouTube because we've been friends for a while, been talking about AR and other stuff for a while, so it's really cool to get to actually do a video about it.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of the stuff actually comes from conversations that we've had. But before we get started, I have to tell you, so it is a tradition in my home that every Sunday, my wife gets to sleep in, and I wake up with a small human, and we watch AR videos. Like, that's what we do. And first on the list every day is actually yours. And so the small human had a special message for you.
Hello, Promise. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, that's so cute. That's adorable. I'll tell the small human thank you.
I will. He was very excited about recording that.
I can tell. He sounds very happy.
So this year has been absolutely insane. There have been just so many changes. And I'm curious, like, I'm looking at the timeline here, and we've got a double dancer, the reintroduction of armors, healing inhibitors, and an extra person in both phases of AR, tons of extra movement, Gale Force Surtur. So what do you feel like is the biggest change that we've had to go through so far this year?
I feel like the change is really twofold. I feel like I can personally pinpoint two things that have probably been the biggest changes, or power creep, or whatever you want to call it. I'd say the first thing is the existence of Fatal Smoke. And Duo Leaf in general, Duo Leaf's existence has like completely tanked so many strategies that people used to use. Duo Leaf hard counters people like Brave Ike, Brave Edelgard, and also people like Brave Claude. There are not many people like him who rely on their healing that much, but as someone who used Brave Claude so much, that is obviously something that affected me a lot. I pretty much can't use them anymore. And obviously the save skills have also been such a game changer. I think I used to be kind of skeptical about them, and I thought they were kind of like an instant win button, and I thought that I wouldn't want to use them. But now with the kind of shenanigans that you find on ARD, it almost feels like a necessity. And if you don't have them, you're kind of in the dust. So I think they've also been a really big impact on the meta.
I never thought armors would be back. Like that,
yeah.
The save skills have just blown me away.
I agree.
It's been nuts. So from these conversations that we've had, I started thinking, is it just like, it seems like it's just human nature to go through things and oh my God, this is just the worst. This is the biggest change ever. And I wanted to baseline things and kind of go back through and see if the power creep this year was actually worse than the power creep last year. So a couple things had to happen. The first is we had to come up with some kind of scale. of course.
I love this scale. It's great.
So we've got Flame Emperor on the bottom. We've got Academy Edelgard next. And we've got, of course, Legendary Edelgard, and then Brave Edelgard, and the Fallen One. Now, the big turning point there is that Legendary Edelgard, where it's a unique unit, but isn't used a lot. And a lot of units fall in this category. And then, of course, you have the Fallen Edelgards, which you have to face all the time and are just always a mess. The other thing I wanted to point out is we're using the scale on a month-to-month basis. So it is individual units, but we're looking at total months. So with that being said, I mean, can you think of a better unit we could have done this with?
I honestly can't, just because, like, first of all, the number of alts is perfect. And second of all, like, I was just thinking, like, these all make so much sense. Like, maybe it's not a perfectly linear scale from one to the next. In fact, I would argue it probably isn't. Once you pass Legendary Edelgard, there's a pretty big jump. But still, like, it just makes so much sense to me in terms of grouping these units that we've come to see as meta.
So from here, I wanted to jump in and really look at these individual months and start scaling them. So first up, we've got January, which,
Happy New Year!
for those of you who don't speak toddler, that was Happy New Year. Do you remember when Dual Peony dropped?
I remember people were annoyed that the banner was color sharing with the previous year's units.
Oh my God, that was that banner. Oh, that was a terrible banner.
Yeah. And I'm so glad they seem like they're not going to do it again.
Double dances is just insane. That I still can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
One of the hard things here is looking back and comparing old units to new units. New Year's Alphons, I have to ask, like, did you ever get stalemated by that terrible AR Defense Res New Year's Alphons?
I personally never did, but I have seen people who have been stalemated by one. But it's been a couple months. He's not very common anymore.
Oh man, see, this is why you're just a better player than I am.
Or maybe I was just luckier.
I got stalemated him like 3 or 4 times, and it made me so mad.
Yeah, I get it. He's a pretty frustrating unit when used properly, like frustrating to face.
Oh man, at the time, and the fact that he enabled the Duo's Hindrance building and was so relevant as a combatant, he really was a great unit.
Yeah, I mean, back then, Duo's Hindrance wasn't really a thing. Nobody really cared. But more recently, for sure, that's definitely been a nice perk of using him.
So the other question, I keep hearing people comparing Saros to Sothis. Do you think Saros is the 2021 version of Sothis?
I think Sothis is way better. Sorry, Saros is way better. Like, so much better. There's no question about it.
I was about to say, wow.
No.
I completely didn't expect that.
Yeah, no, not Sothis. Unfortunately, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think she's the worst defense mythic. But anyway, Saros, obviously the fact that she enables the 7th slot in itself is very valuable, but also, like, she can be surprisingly difficult to kill with Dragon Wall and with the right skills, and also surprisingly difficult to tank too because of her guaranteed follow-up and her super high attack.
I love that she has single-handedly made Naga relevant again.
Yeah, like, as someone who doesn't have Naga, I honestly struggle facing her. So maybe I'm, like, overestimating her abilities, but yeah, without Naga, like, I struggle facing her some weeks.
Oh no, she is a terror. I'm curious, like, how quickly she'll fall off. And I have to agree with you. I think Sothis was this weird, like, tweener. And whereas Saros seems to have this very clear seek and destroy thing going on.
Yeah. And Saros has got the mixed phase potential, because she's got follow-ups on both defense and offense, and also, like, she negates follow-ups as well in both phases, which is kind of crazy too.
Now, we were in pretty much agreement on this one, whereas we had January 2021 was definitely a Fallen Edelgard month.
For sure.
And then we had New Year's Alphons at about this is a very unique unit, but probably not something that has really defined the meta. So we've got to start off here where 2020 is in the lead by a whole 2 points.
Oh no, not the 2 points.
I mean, with that, let's move on to what I think was the craziest month this year, which was...
Please, don't remind me about this. Don't remind me about the Valentine's banner.
So it's funny that you were talking about Dual Leaf at the beginning of this. I don't know if you remember this conversation, but he came out and you were like, oh my God, this unit has changed AR. And I was like, meh, you know, he'll come and go.
Yeah. Can I just say, I don't understand how literally everybody has Duo Leaf. I just don't get it. Like, every defense team has Duo Leaf on it. And it was a seasonal with color sharing. I don't understand how so many people have him.
You're right. It's very, very strange that without a spark, so many people were able to get that unit.
Yeah, without a spark, also alongside color sharing, which makes it slightly harder to get the specific unit you want. I don't know.
But these save skills are another one that I had no idea they were going to be this good.
Yeah, I think I underestimated them at the beginning too. I don't know why. I think I was so caught up on how harmful Duo Leaf would be for me personally as someone who uses Brave Claw that I didn't really consider the impact of the save skills, but they've shaken the meta for sure.
So, and it's interesting comparing this February to February 2020, because we had one of the most influential units Faye has ever seen in Legendary Crom. I mean, if you were to weigh Legendary Azura all time versus Legendary Crom, who do you think had the most influence on the game?
I think it would be really close, and I think Crom might actually edge her out a little bit. I mean, obviously pending her remix, but right now I think Crom slightly edges her out for me.
Do you remember when he came out and everyone was like, well, this unit isn't as good as Legendary Lucina because to change fate isn't as good as her special.
Yeah.
That didn't pan out.
I remember I was one of the Crom doubters at the beginning. Like I was like, well, his stats are okay, but he's not that fast. He's not going to be a problem. And then like Speedy Crom happened, and in general, Crom showed up everywhere in Arena and AR. He's still everywhere. I still see him, and he still throws off my Arena runs sometimes.
Oh, he definitely does. My main far save tank is Henriette, and so that's direct counter.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and it's about to be water season for a long time.
Pain.
I do have to ask, Brave Claude has not completely gone, but he's definitely lost some of his value. Do you think that decline has stopped and you'll be able to slowly work him back into your teams?
This AR season has completely shattered my dreams of ever using him again on a regular basis, because I am not exaggerating when I say I probably ran into 7 or 8 not Cav lines, and like 3 or 4 of them had Legendary Sigurd on them, and like all of them had Duo Leaf. I don't know if it was just me having really bad luck with the teams I'm facing, but it really feels like every team nowadays has at least one hard counter to Claude who you just can't avoid.
The amount of threat area that teams have now is just ridiculous.
Which is why save skills are so important now.
On the scale, I mean, this was obviously 2
It's not even a question.
Yeah. We're still 2 points behind for February. Or for 2020, rather. Moving on to March. Now to me, this is where things get a little interesting. This is one of those months where if Dagger didn't enable that extra unit, I'm just not sure anyone would have pulled for her. And I know you still don't have her. Like, do you have any plans on getting Dagger after going this long?
After having spent like 400 orbs and not getting her, I'm like, legendary banners are just not a good place to pull unless you literally have like 500, 600 orbs to guarantee you get the unit you want. So I might try a little this month depending on how good the legendary is, but I don't know.
I completely forgot how influential Lysithea was. And you were the one that pointed out that she really needed to be on the meta-defining list. But that was, like, she was at the height of IP teams. She was just a terror.
And I still see her sometimes on, like, the older teams that haven't updated to become not Sigurd Cav lines.
I'm curious if we start to get more IP teams, though. That's something that I've been waiting for, and I've been wondering what brings them back.
You know, people thought Pent might do it, but he didn't really. So unless we get, like, Infantry Pulse 4 or something, I don't even know what it would have to do, but
Oh, God.
I just don't see it happening.
Is that going to be on the new Legendary?
Maybe. Maybe.
And then we've got Bram, who is another unit that a lot of people slept on. Where does he rank in your Dark Mythics right now?
I guess including not. Honestly, tied for second with Triandra. I think depending on the team comp, like, one would be more useful than the other, but I think both are very, very good.
That's kind of amazing because it's been over a year. Like, he has had some staying power.
Yeah, and I don't think they're gonna leave the meta anytime soon.
This one, now we had a little bit of a disagreement here, and I had to eventually go with your side because I think you were totally right with Dagger being at a 4. I had her at a 3, but she's just, because she's the first. I mean, that was just very, very influential. And then, of course, at the time, I think Lysithea and Bram definitely put us at a 5.
Yeah, for sure. At the time, and I would argue Bram is still probably around a 4 even now. So, yeah.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
fair.
He's a great unit. So we've closed the gap where March is behind by 1 point. And we've got April. And I'm actually going to remember the voice line here because, you know, the small human was very proud of this one.
I am God.
Now, that isn't Edelgard. That is on your guard.
Oh, I thought it was Edelgard. Okay.
Understanding toddlers is really, really difficult. So this is another one. You had to convince me on La Rochelle because up until like this week, I hadn't run into her that much.
I've actually seen her so much. Like, I've seen her on so many teams. I've seen a fair amount of +10s of her too. I think she's possibly better than Veronica now as the best staff cav with the right investment. She's pretty annoying to face.
I would say she's definitely better. That staff of hers is just very, very unique with the basically the counter disrupt skill.
I think the one thing that would set her behind Veronica maybe for me is that Veronica's been around for so long, has been on so many reruns, and is also in the 4-star special pool, so a lot of people probably have merges on her, whereas maybe not that many people went for La Rochelle.
I've had so much trouble with her this week that it's hard for me to say that Veronica's better. So
I'm sorry.
That's probably recency bias there. But I did want to ask, like, long term, do you think you would rather have a +10 Sigurd or a +10 La Rochelle on defense?
Well, I refuse to use Legendary Sigurd on defense, so I'll go with La Rochelle. I have one. I just don't want to do to other people what I've had done to me. No shade to anyone who uses him. I just can't do it.
The other question is, did IS mean to do Legendary Sigurd?
I don't think so. I don't think they anticipated what kind of meta this would create. Or maybe they did and they just didn't care. I really don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was an accident. I mean, even looking like at the parity between months, and you look at this one, and I mean, it's possible we could have moved Legendary Edelgard into like here she's a 3 range, and it's possible she could have moved into the 4. But anyway, it's all, if you look at the units, they're at about that same level, and then you've got Legendary Sigurd, who just he doesn't fit.
He breaks the scale.
I think they did Sigurd. I think they did Legendary Sigurd by accident.
You know what? I'm inclined to agree with you thinking about it now, because obviously Dire Thunder and Reinhardt was a mistake too. One that they're never going to give a refine to. So they've proven that they are capable of making mistakes.
This is why they're so scared of calves. They keep doing them wrong.
But now they just completely threw it out of the park now with not 2. But anyway.
It's true. So this was a weird one. So we had, I mean, everything was pretty equal. And then this happened where we've got like the Legendary Edelgard scale, and then we've got 0 for April. So we pull way ahead for 2021 with the introduction of Legendary Sigurd.
Unfortunately.
All right, moving on to May. And I have to play this one because this is my son's favorite character.
I'm absolute.
What was that?
That was I Am Absolute.
Oh, okay.
Which
very, very familiar line.
He will not go to bed now until I open up Fire Emblem Heroes and make sure that Edelgard says, I am absolute.
What does he think of the sprite?
He loves everything about Edelgard. And the other day, someone had a defense map that they had 2 Edelgards on there, and he ran to the TV and started shaking. He's like, 2 Edelgards? The joke in the Discord is that I'm raising a Fire Emblem villain.
Maybe you are. You should go talk to Link King for some tips.
This was a huge month for May 2020. I had forgotten all of the units that came out that month. The one I keep looking at here is Milla, because at the time she was just game breaking. Is she still relevant as a mythic right now?
I think against any team other than the turn 1 force teams, she's still relevant. But unfortunately, those are quite common nowadays. And the reason why she's not relevant against those anymore is, first of all, if you've got odd recovery on your turn 1 force team, which you probably should have, her isolation means nothing, her sabotage attack means nothing. And just in general, teams that force the turn 1 engagement, having that 8th turn against them is just not super helpful.
Yeah, I'm with you. The funny thing, right before all this started, Howdy in the Discord got her up to +10.
Oh.
He's been,
my condolences.
He's been really sad.
I mean, she's still okay. Defense is a pretty decent stat to give, but definitely fallen off.
I don't know if we need to talk about Fallen Edelgard too much, but I wanted to know, do you feel like a year from now she will still be the powerhouse that she is today?
I think she'll still be good, but I feel like by then we'll probably have more tools to deal with her. I don't know, like you said, she's like the Surtur of 2021. Surtur is obviously not relevant anymore. He fell off after about maybe a year, I don't remember. But also she's just a lot better than Surtur, so I'm not sure if that's like quite a fair comparison.
She has a lot of things.
I was just looking at her Game Press page today, actually, to look at her stats. And you know how Game Press does like a section for pros and cons about the unit?
Yeah.
So their pros section was like 7 bullet points long. The cons one only had 2 bullet points, and one of them was she's got an ugly sprite. So I think that tells you all you need to know about how many weaknesses she really has.
So my last question for this month, and I knew that fallen units were definitely meta definers, but this really reinforced it going back and looking at this. Do you think we should have put Fallen Ike on the meta list?
I just don't think he's common enough. I just don't see him. I mean, I saw him like once maybe in the past like 6 months of Aether Raids facing my team. Yeah, and I did beat him that one time I faced him, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, Reinhardt does beat everything.
It actually wasn't Reinhardt. Reinhardt was hidden for like 10 times 2. It was actually the double poison strike from Fire Sweep Claude. Yeah, that'll do it.
Claude to save the day. That does make sense. I think fallen units are always going to tilt the scale. Here we've got just pinging it at 5, and 2020 is not going to catch up to 2021 on this one.
I'll just say, like, all 3 of these units who you have in May 2020, they were amazing when they came out, but all 3 of them have fallen off so badly. Like, they're just not good anymore, like any of them.
Oh, it's
at least
crazy.
Not in AR, not really.
I use, like, Dual Micaiah used to be my easy button.
Yeah, the win button.
I had him I had her paired with Matthew, and they just demolished teams. It was crazy.
Can't do that anymore.
No. All right. I mean, that brings us to June here, which I don't even remember what my son's voice line for this was.
Well, offend me.
I've got to look that one up. Oh, that was You Offend Me.
Oh, I love that one.
So, this is the note month, which I've got to say, she is a lot better unit than I gave her credit for.
I think we were all lulled into a false sense of security after the first Not Week, where people didn't really know how to incorporate her, but now,
Yes.
like, people have figured it out, and it's scary.
Here's the thing that I wasn't prepared for. Bonus Doubler is good again.
With the Menace skills specifically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're running Menace.
Her kit is very synergistic. I've been very impressed.
It's been making me want to start running Panic again, or like Sudden Panic. I just don't really have anyone to run it on, but I think it could be pretty helpful against her.
I've been trying to figure out how to get it on my team. The problem is it takes so much to deal with these turn 1 force teams.
Exactly. It's like you can't have everything on the team at the same time.
Looking at this, I did have a couple thoughts here. What happened to Summer Mia's Harmonize skill?
What even is her Harmonize skill? I have no clue.
I think it's called Resonant Blades, and it's just a buff to attack and speed. And that's it.
Really strong skill.
They just got so much more powerful after that.
Was she the first Harmonized?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why. I don't know.
They sold her short. Okay, I had one more question I remembered. In 1 year, will people still be running Note on defense?
What stat does she give? Is it defense?
Yeah, it's defense.
That's a really good stat for Dark Season defense because it enables a lot of dancers to become more able to isolate, to not get isolated by Milla. I also think the fact that she gives that extra movement makes her a lot more valuable than pretty much anyone else would be on a turn 1 force team. So yeah, I think she's kind of around to stay. And obviously she's also just a great combat unit. Like, my near save Lucas cannot one round her, and it's not even close, and it's kind of scary.
I'm so curious. I feel like we are at the cusp of us swinging back to the buff meta after being in the debuff meta for so long. And I think what might hurt her is when we swing back to the debuff meta, where just everything is about debuffs and we get Aversa take 2. But
yeah, maybe Aversa Refine will do that. I'm sure hoping for that.
But that being said, I mean, it's tough to argue with you. Pathfinder on defense is just so unique and creates so many different things that can happen. It's fantastic.
It's hard to call it unique when pretty much every team you face has the same setup. But not to shade anybody, because like it's a really good strategy. But I see what you're saying.
That's a very good point. I think after this week, well, maybe after this month, we'll start to see some divergence and see some more interesting defense maps.
You think? If it keeps like reaping the benefits, I don't know if people will switch from it.
I said the same thing about Legendary Sigurd, and people haven't switched yet, so
he's still around. Yeah, he's everywhere, even out of season.
Oh man, he's very popular. He is just nutty. So I think this is another obvious one where we've got just 2 5s. I mean, these were very, very influential units. But we're coming up on the end here, and I mean, 2021 is clearly in the lead for just absolute craziness. And I wanted to put all of the units together to see this big kludge. And I know on the scale, like 28 versus 24 doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think about the max points for a power creep month being 5, basically I'm saying 2021 is an entire month ahead of 2020.
And the fact that it's at 28 almost at the max score of 30 means that pretty much every month was at the max level of power creep.
And it felt like it too.
It really does, yeah.
At one point I was looking at redoing my defense map, and I kept on saying, but why? I mean, it's gonna change in 2 weeks and I'm gonna have to redo it again.
Yeah, that's why I haven't switched mine up yet either. It's just no point.
So, what do you think makes 2021 so insane?
I think the introduction of, first of all, these completely new set of skills. I think the save skills, I guess you could call it like a game mechanic change. Definitely something that we didn't have in 2020. I don't think we had any skills that were anywhere near as influential that came out in 2020. Another thing is Fatal Smoke, although literally I don't think I've seen Fatal Smoke on anyone other than Duo Leaf and Legendary Sigurd. Like, nobody else is crazy enough to fodder off one of those 2 units to someone else. But the existence of that skill paired with the units who they chose to give it to, I think is also really strong. And just like Pathfinder, I think all of us were kind of holding out hope that they wouldn't put Pathfinder on defense, and then they did, and then it ended up being worse than we could have imagined. I think, yeah. Everyone was telling me I was overreacting when I said Light Season was dead and like Not is gonna ruin the meta, but I really think she has.
I don't think it's dead. I do think it is ridiculous that if you don't have save skills now, your AR season is just lost.
Yeah, that's what I mean, dead in the sense that, like, so first of all, Far Save was locked behind a seasonal banner with no spark.
Yes.
Hasn't come back since. And Near Save, I guess one of them was technically sparkable, although I think not that many people were summoning on that Fodlan banner because I think we were all kind of out of orbs at that point. So both of those skills, like, not that easy to get, to be honest.
And we've talked about this. I would have been better with this if they would have given us some kind of either near save or far save unit in the Grail pool. I think that would have been a great move.
Or like, I guess they couldn't have put it in the 3-4 star pool because that'd be way too easy to get. Maybe even like as an ephemera. I know they don't, as a rule, do units who are that new, but I think that would have been really nice too.
Actually, yeah, that would have been great. I feel like they should have made it easier for people to get those skills because it's just so difficult to do matches without them right now.
Yeah.
I remember watching Elder V try to do the non-savior skill solutions to note in one of his latest videos, and it was hurting me. It was hurting me the time before that when he was doing Sigurd, just Sigurd without save skills.
Yeah.
That was tough.
It's really tough, like without, I think at the very least near save nowadays with Sigurd's existence, but also far save just trivializes a lot of things too.
So, the last thing, do you feel like if 2021 didn't have the extra units, so like Note enabling a 7-unit defense and Dagger enabling the 6-unit offense, like if we discounted those, do you think the power creep is about on level, or do you think it's still been worse in 2021?
I think it's closer. I think both Saros and Dagger would have points knocked from them if you kind of discounted the fact that they had the 7th slot. I still think Note is, still up there. But yeah, I do think that if you kind of like subtracted a point from like Saros and from Dagger, I think you'd be a lot closer in terms of power creep compared to last year.
I feel like the game mechanics have to settle down here. And I'm hoping with that settle that things will not feel so crazy. But, again, we're what? We're now an hour and a half away from the new legendary banner, so.
Yeah. And like okay, we didn't really talk about legendary Claude because he is just MIA. He's not anywhere. But I think him and Sigurd have both kind of set the tone for the power level of all new legendaries going forward, and I'm hoping that the new ones will be more, like closer to legendary Claude than Sigurd, but like I don't really have faith in IS at this point to care about balancing. Really, I just don't.
But that's kind of where the name for this episode came from, the whole FEHtigue. There's been so many changes. People are just getting tired.
I'm really tired of Fae. I'm just not excited about logging in every day and doing all the quests and playing AR every day. I'm hoping it's just like a temporary lull, and like you said, it'll get better as things settle down more. But it really feels like, and like the amount of orbs you have to drop just to get like the newest, shiniest toy, it's just a lot.
I mean, we're in the weird section of Fae right now, and I think things will start looking up at the Brave banner actually. Just because it's normally new units, you get one for free, and everyone's really excited about them. So I think that's when we see things turn around.
I think last year it kind of felt like the Brave banner was a turning point too. So I hope you're right.
The obvious conclusion here is that 2021 has been crazy.
Yeah, they have not been hitting the brakes at all. Just full throttle the entire year, every single month.
So my request to IS is, I love all of your changes, because I really do. I just want them spaced out a little bit.
Yeah, and give us better tools to deal with them that are more easily accessible. Innis was nice, but Innis doesn't do anything against turn 1 teams, so
No.
do something like that, but you know, maybe like a Grail unit that has near save or far save built into their weapon. That would be really cool.
That'd be fantastic. I think that would go a long way in making the game a lot more fun right now. Because I feel Grail units are where they really tip their hat to the free-to-play players.
The 4-star focuses on like regular banners, the non-seasonal ones, have not been the greatest. So it's nice when they throw a couple gems in the Grail pool.
I appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. This has been a lot of fun. Like I said, this has been something that we've been talking about for the last 6 months. So I thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is a topic that I kind of rant about in my daily AR videos, but it's really nice to have it in like one cohesive place and kind of just look at it holistically, just like month by month. I think this is a really valuable tool. All
right, I guess I'll close this out there. If you liked the episode, leave a comment or subscribe. We have lots of stuff coming. If you'd like to reach out to the show, you can do so through our subreddit r/FEHology. You can email the show directly at FEHology@gmail.com. If you'd like to chat, you can join the research and development server or direct message us on Discord. Our tags are in the show notes. Hey guys, you know what I didn't do at the very beginning? I know all of you know who Promise is, but go look at her AR stuff. It's amazing. She does such a good job with the day-to-day. She is incredibly charismatic to the point where even a 3-year-old enjoys watching her. So definitely go check out her channel, subscribe. I'll have a link that should be flashing up about now. I've also got to give a special thanks to Mori, Conquest, Gaia, Howdy, and Husky, who came up with the idea for the Edel Scale. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for listening to my ideas and letting me bounce stuff off of you. I appreciate everything. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon. Take care, guys.
Thank you all so much for watching.